Hey folks, man, this is Monk. We are back with another episode of Classics of Cinematics. And I'm joined as always with my co-host Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo!
Yeah, so today, folks, that was a strong yo, man.
Because I wanted to say bangarang. Got the energy up this morning.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Hook from 1991. This is directed by Steven Spielberg. And in this film, while his young children are abducted by his old nemesis, Captain Hook, middle-aged lawyer Peter Banning, aka Peter Pan, returns to his magical origins as Peter Pan. Peter must revisit a foggy past in which he abandoned Neverland for family life, leaving Tinkerbell and the Lost Boys to fend for themselves. Given their bitterness toward Peter for growing up, I really didn't get that. I think that was coming from one of them.
Exactly.
And their allegiance to their new leader, Rufio, the old gang may not be happy to see him.
Man.
Yeah, so this film, very interesting, man. We've got a division between the critics and the audience, you know, and but this seems to be a favorite amongst fans, man.
Absolutely.
You know, more so than the critics. That's kind of endured, you know. It's got a huge following.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get into this, man. What's going on with this story?
It's got a huge following, justifiably so. I mean, me personally, this is my favorite film adaptation of the Peter and Wendy story, which came, what's his name? J.M. Barrie wrote it in 1911. We've seen a lot of different variations of this story, but I feel like this one, it found a way to reimagine the narrative while still paying homage to the source material because it presents itself almost like a standalone sequel. It's an extension to the story. It's not taking us, we're not retreading old things here. So, and I feel like the way that they did that, that's what pulls us in, especially with this very serious tone as we follow Peter Panning, this successful lawyer who's failing at family life. He's failing in fatherhood, you know what I'm saying? Like, Peter Pan broke his number one rule. He actually grew up, and we're seeing him not be too well at being an adult when it comes to showing the love inside his household. You know what I mean?
I think most people aren't very good at being adults.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
We do what we can, but
But I mean,
ideal.
there's no guidebook to it, and I think that's where this story it really hits the nail hard for me with that, because it has that serious undertone, and it made this story more relatable to adults. You know what I'm saying? Where it still is going to be fun for the children, and we get to the family aspect as we cruise through the story. But to start it off the way they did, I feel like that was almost genius. And then when you wrap that around to all these other moving parts with the direction and this all-star cast and everything, just kind of like all the chips are aligning for this film to be successful, or at least through the fans' eyes.
Yeah. Basically, the story itself, you know, is Peter. He's failing. And his children are kidnapped by Hook, you know, in a strange way. And amazingly, I guess for Peter's been an adult so long, he's kind of forgot about, you know, that Neverland and the Lost Boys and where he came from. And even Hook himself, you know. So he gets a visit from Tinkerbell, who kind of, you know, is trying to, you know, the thing jog his memory, refresh his memory.
That's where we get the tonal shift, because like I said, you know, we're seeing him, you know, try to navigate through adulthood, but then we are reminded that Hook never forgot. He's been plotting in the cut, waiting for an opportunity to exact his revenge and get the war he never had. But once Tink, you know, once she shows up, that's where we get the fantasy. That's where this film turns real fun. Once he, you know, is taken wherever Neverland is, make this left at the far star at the right or something like that. But, you know, once he wakes up, it feels like we're in a different place. You know what I'm saying? And then we really dive into the fun while he's trying to refine himself through chasing his past. You know what I mean? And, you know, I like how it really, the story, it presents itself in a way where it makes it so much fun. Like, even though it's still live action, it feels like you're in a different place. These characters, they feel cartoony. The pirates and the Lost Boys, it really, you know, it really hits on that, like, that fantasy magical element that, you know, should be provided.
But with that said, we do got some interesting characters in this thing, man, and I think that stands out. Especially going with the cast. We got Robin Williams playing this older version of Peter Pan, and Robin Williams on top of the game at the time this came out. Very beloved actor, very endearing, and honestly, I really couldn't think of anyone who would be a better casting for this. At the time, he himself has a youthful kind of vibe to him, and I think that was very important in capturing the essence of this character. Even though he's older Peter now, but you could still, he's the kind of person that you look at him and you can still see that youthful energy deep down in there somewhere. And I think that's also speaks to his comedic talents as well, and his relatability.
Absolutely. And he is one of the best actors to portray, don't ever let go of your youth. It's okay to still have fun and be vibrant and feel young. Like, enjoying your youth or still allowing that to be present in adulthood is not a ding on your maturity. You can still be mature and handle your grown-up business and find the joy in life and look through a youthful eye. And Robin Williams, he does that for him to play this role. But then it's also cool to see him from the opposite side of the spectrum where, when it is time for him to be about his business, whether he's presenting himself as the lawyer or even when he has to revert back to being Pan, when it's time to focus up and handle what needs to be done, he does it. You know what I mean? But then also, with him, you also get a standout performance by Dustin Hoffman as Captain Hook. He brings Captain Hook to life in real time. The energy, the effort that he puts into his character, it's almost as monumental and memorable as what we got from the animated Captain Hook in the Disney animated version. You know what I'm saying? He becomes a cornerstone of this film, and without Dustin Hoffman playing Hook, I just don't think this film is going to hit the same.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely. And he has the look too, man. I think that's what kind of makes it look so cool, because before this, I guess the quintessential version of Hook is going to be the Disney version, and that was older, but he has all the physical traits of that, but also the attitude, man. Because I think, Hook gets overshadowed lately, I think, when we're talking about top, fantasy kind of villains, you know what I'm saying? And he's up there, man. Like especially when you're starting with the Disney version, and then you're going to what, Hoffman did, he's up there with like Scar, what I'm saying? Some of those, Jafar, some of those heavies, of that era, man. And he's just doing it in a live action version, you know what I'm saying? Almost like a caricature come to life. And it speaks to Hoffman's acting talents, man. Like, he's one of the better dudes, man. And to get him for this film, man, that was kind of a really big deal. And I think what helps, sell his villainy, you know what I'm saying, and gives this film some stakes, so to speak.
Absolutely. And he was also a very prominent figure off camera and kind of, gelling the crew together and, kind of keeping Robin Williams. They formed a personal relationship, and Robin Williams was going through some things in his personal life around this time. And we all know the tragic story we're having with him. And,
he kind of had a real depression, going on. Like, and to be able to turn in a lot of the work he did, like, under crippling depression, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Not just this film, but a lot of his career, man. And it's sometimes a guy that's the funniest and the happiest could be having the going through the roughest, on the inside,
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a testament to that, man.
And Hoffman was kind of, trying to almost be like he wanted to make sure that Robin Williams knew he wasn't alone. He was being a friend. And, another person who had a very heavy presence in this film and off screen is Bob Hoskins as Smee. He's one of my favorite characters in this because that Bob Hoskins energy is magnetic. You want... ever since Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I'll watch anything he's in, and he kind of comes with that same energy, the comedic value that only he can bring, to this film with this character. He was so good as Smee that they even brought him back, and he reprised his role as the same character in 2011's Neverland, the TV series. So, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
So,
because he stood out to me, like, honestly, this is my first time watching this thing all the way through.
Okay.
So, and I was just looking, I'm like, who is this guy? He looks so familiar, And then I posted that I was watching, and it was like, yeah, man, rest in peace, Bob Hoskins. I was like, oh, yes, and it hit me right on the head. And it's kind of crazy because I think some of the most interesting stuff in this film to me is him and Hook just hanging out and doing, like, kind of dumb banter, In a way, I feel like I don't know. There's some things about this film that they'll probably bring up later, but I feel like some films would have cut that out. But I think keeping that in there, because it's not really directly, moving the plot in any way. It's just him and Hook just hanging out and being knuckleheads, like, and the Hoskins energy is amazing in those scenes, man. There's a part he says Peter's brain has been gentrified, and I died, yo. He keeps messing up words, though. He keeps using words in the wrong way. You know, that's one of his tics as his character. And this is really fun, man.
Yeah, because they try to dumb him down, but and you can tell that he's Hook's underling. He's definitely his yes man, but he doesn't give that Starscream vibe.
Nah,
he's not trying to take over.
He's the opposite.
He's like, you say I do.
Yeah, he's Hook's biggest advocate. Like, I can't think of any. There are other characters I've seen, but they're not they're not on the tip of my tongue right now. I can't remember someone else's like this. It maybe even what was my man on the Police Academy? It wasn't he was always sucking up to the
I know who you're talking about. The little dude. I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. Yes. Or even he reminds me of the snake in the Robin Hood Disney version that's kissing up to
the king.
John.
It reminds me of those guys type of
When you got that kind of yes man in you, I mean, even at the end during the war, like you see Smee, he's like, yo, it's all about Smee. It's all about Smee. Oh, it's about me. Let me do something for myself for once. Let me stop catering to Hook and look out for myself.
Like his whole identity is tied into serving Hook, in a way.
He has no purpose. But another character that I feel like he has the coolest character introduction that I've probably ever seen on film, and that is Dante Basco as Rufio. I feel like what they did with this character, it was so cool to find them, or the way that they found a way to almost replace Pan, to show that the Lost Boys were still existing. They were in good hands, and they had a new formidable leader, and he wore it well.
Well, somebody had to step up, and honestly, I don't know, man. He comes across like a guy that's been battle tested.
Yes.
He doesn't have the liberty to be carefree like Pan was when he was leading them.
No, because
he's leading under like war times.
That's what it's like. He's one of the Lost Boys, but he's actually a Lord of the Fly. You know what I'm saying? He's got that survival energy, and I mean, even when it's time to go to war, like he is dressed significantly different. He got the little bones. He's got the war paint on. I mean, like, he was ready to get with it. Like, I rocks with Rufio all the way. I mean, he had the coolest look with the whole like the red hair going on. I mean, there was just so much
Who's
going
cutting
on.
them boys' head, man?
I don't know. Each other.
I don't know. That man looked like he had a lot of salon products in that
man, I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? I was just saying.
Shout out to Glenn Close. She had a real small role in this, and you wouldn't even notice her because she's actually dressed up as a pirate. They cast her as Gutless, but she's the one where when when Peter Pan first comes to Neverland, and Captain Hook is like, we're going to get our war. Who said I couldn't do it? And he picks someone out in the crowd. He picks Glenn Close, and then they put her in the boo box. So, that was really cool. I did not know that was her until I pulled up the cast list. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like when actors do that sometimes. They have cameos in movies, but they're like uncredited or they're undercover, like, what I'm saying, just hanging out. Shout out to my man, Tony Burton. For no reason, he's just in the background.
Yeah.
He plays Duke and Rocky, Apollo's, trainer.
Yeah.
But he's just in the background with the other pirates, like, hey, yeah.
And another part that I love in this film is actually, it's after we meet Rufio, and then like the Peter Pan training montage starts, but they're, the Lost Boys, they're conflicted, and they're like, Rufio's like, man, this can't be Peter Pan. Look at him. He's old. He got kids, man. He's not one of us. He's a pirate. And then out of left field, little David Allen Greer. This little kid, they name him as Pockets.
That was David Allen?
No. His name's Isaiah Robinson.
What is his son?
But, I don't know, but he looks just like David Allen Greer, dog. And he's the one that started rubbing on Peter's face. He's like, oh, there you are, Peter. But I look at him like, damn, he looked like David Allen Greer.
It was kind of weird, though, because, like, I think, it's funny because there's a lot of child actors in this, man, and someone was barely getting the job. This was a wide range of the performances.
Yes.
And some of them looked like they was on drugs, but I was like,
some of them probably were.
This 7-year-old can't be high.
Yeah.
but you know that they're so fresh at acting. It's just like that. You know, I understand you got to fill the cast out, and maybe they didn't have a lot of time to find the best people. And think about this time too. You're talking about 91, so a lot of the best child actors was working.
Yes.
They was on Nickelodeon. They was on whatever. They was in other movies. Yeah. So you got to get what you can get.
Or their name started with Corey or ended with Culkin. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. Also, Rashawn Hammond, he played Thud, but he's a little chunky one. I did like him as well. He brought a little some high energy to it and just some comedic value. But I feel like they all, you know, collectively, when it comes to presenting the Lost Boys and the diversity amongst the crew and how each one of them kind of have a separate part, but they rock together, I think they did that well. And I really like what Julia Roberts brought as Tink. I feel like, you know, the way they expanded her character arc into like almost pretty much saying like that she had, a love interest feeling for Peter, and she was ultimately heartbroken when he chose to go to England and not come back to Neverland. Like, so for them to kind of give this film, a little bit more of an emotional compass and throw some heartbreak in there. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that needed to be done, but it definitely gave this film a little bit more of a pulse and a heartbeat, because they're like, oh man, like, Pan didn't just win when he decided to, put himself first and create a family and live life. Like, he did leave people behind, and those scars or those wounds did leave scars, in Neverland. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I thought that was cool. We also got Gwyneth Paltrow played young Wendy. So, I mean, there's a lot when it comes to the cast.
Hey, folks, man, this is Classes of Cinematics here with a word from our sponsor, man. You like hip-hop, man?
I love it.
You like underground hip-hop?
Give me my shovel.
We're here to talk to you about deadworldradio.com, man. And deadworldradio.com is an awesome site, man. They've got live old school style radio shows, man, where you've got a personality spinning the latest in underground hip hop, man. And these are live Tuesdays and Thursday nights. We've also got a new feature coming soon where they're going to play Classes of Cinematics episodes on Wednesday nights at 8:00. And these will be, episodes that have films that are hip hop adjacent, you know what I'm saying? Or have inspired hip hop in some kind of way. And some of these will be having guest rappers on to, give us, new intros for these episodes before they play. Go to Dead Real Radio. It's dope, man. You've got a live feed from artists who are out actively putting out music. So if you want to put your own music on the site, you can. You can upload it there. You can sell it from there with the least split that you got to pay to the site, even less than Bandcamp, dude. You could also have private links like Untitled. So if you want to, start collaborating with other artists and share work between each other, you could do that. You could also sell your own merch that way as well. It's got an active message board. We've also got an RSS feed that shows new releases on the site. So if you're looking for something new to listen to, man, so it's pretty cool, man. So definitely check out deadworldradio.com.
But I also like the effects of this. I feel like the makeup designs and the costumes really bring these characters to life, especially once we get into Neverland. Like, I like how they presented themselves, in real time. It's like, okay, cool, they playing the part. But once we get to Neverland, like when you got Robin Williams in the green, Peter Pan suit, or mainly with Captain Hook and the pirates, they really played the part.
Yeah, I think, that's probably one of the biggest things that stood out to me. Once they do get to Neverland and that main area where the ships, it's like a little small chunk of a town, that set is just crazy, man. I'm just looking at it, I'm like, yeah, they spent some bread on this. And then, but you see the little shops going on, the places, like, you got the sewers, the carpenters, the blacksmiths, the pirates are hanging out, the people are selling clothes. It's just like it looks like a real place that's lived in, you know what I'm saying? And then just to the side of that, you got Hook's ship is kind of hanging out, docked there, but then you got other locations like where the Lost Boys are hanging out. Like the sets are really great in this, man. They add to that immersion that you're in like another place in time, you know?
They definitely add to the aesthetic, because like when I watched this movie, it could have went one of two ways. They could have easily thrown the Who Framed Roger Rabbit effect or the Cool World effect, where once Peter went to Neverland, they could have made it animated, and and actually gave us the same artwork and the same look of that Disney animated short. You know what I'm saying? But I like that they did this because it still feels cartoony, but it looks real.
It has classic film, like I'm just in the background playing is the shot where he climbs up to the top and he looks out and he can see the whole land, and I'm like, oh, that's classic, like matte painting, stuff, and it just looks great. It gives you a sense of where he's at in the scale. And even now, you just look at him walking around, like it's clearly a set, but it's so detailed, man. So like highly decorated, and it's cool, man. It definitely adds to this film, man.
It does, and it makes us feel like we're somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like you can tell they put a lot of energy, effort, and imagination into these set pieces.
Yeah. 91, it's still early ILM work, but like the stuff they're pulling off, especially like, with Tinkerbell flying, and then later on, once he learns how to fly again, like that stuff actually looks good for what it is. I mean, you could nitpick and say, didn't age well, but at the time, for what they were pulling off, a lot of it does look good. And even there's some shots, like I said, where Robin Williams is, after he learns to fly, and you're like, yo, this doesn't look bad,
and this still holds up to me.
And it's not done in the most ideal way,
right.
but you could tell the tech was, they had, you're starting to get on the edge. This is post T2. You're getting right before Jurassic Park, because I think Jurassic Park comes out in 93. So there's not a lot of gaps. So we're getting, practical effects that, enhance. And then we're starting to get some CGI blending in, you know what I'm saying? Some of that early stuff in it. And it's helping this thing out a lot.
It really does. And I feel like they also dug into that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids bag, where like some of the things look oversized, especially when it comes to Tink and making her look so small and everything look so big around her. You know what I'm saying? And also, there was Steven Spielberg. He was quoted to say, like, later on down the line, that he felt that this film fell short because of the lack of like CGIs and things like that. He would have preferred to do it. But but the thing is I feel like without this style, the film don't hit the same. You know what I'm saying? If it went from live action to anime or live action to Pixar, I mean, it would just feel a little less realistic.
I feel like you could smooth some of this stuff out now, because like since then, you look at, compared to how Peter's flying in this now to how our Superman that just came out is flying, like you could, what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
but like I said, for what it was at the time, it's, it worked, and it pushed the bar up compared to Flying Man shit that we had before this came out. It was kind of some crap.
And also, I feel like, if they would have went to a different, like from real time to animation or something like that, it devalues what they were trying, the initial premise. They wanted it to feel like a regular, average, everyday dude got thrust into some kind of fantastical world. It was just something that he didn't believe really existed, some alternate universe kind of thing. And to do all that in real time, it just kind of keeps that narrative pushing strong through the whole film. You know what I'm saying? And also adds to and enhances his own character arc, where like his sense of confusion, like, I can't really actually be the Pan. There's no way that this can really be real.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mostly his memory lapse. Like, I don't know what that was about, but maybe it's just speaking of the magic,
right.
The further you get away from it and your belief, then you lose your memories of it too as well. So that's
your ability to believe into.
But I would say also doing a lot of the heavy lifting is the score, man. In this thing, so it definitely gives you those fantasy vibes, and the highs that are elevated with the music kind of behind it. Certain moments.
Absolutely.
The film. And who was the composer?
It was John Williams.
Oh yeah. Frequent since Jaws. Frequent Spielberg collaborator.
The music definitely helps control the temperature and the tone of everything that we're going through. And I really like the music, especially once we get into the third phase, the war scene, because this is a movie that it has a rare ability to present war in a fun way. Like you watch this whole battle between the Lost Boys and the pirates and still never get a sense that somebody's going to have a violent death.
I don't know, man.
I mean,
People
Rufio
died,
got
bro.
86.
Man,
Rufio got 86.
Somebody got 86 in the baseball game.
That's true.
Like, so,
but it still looked kind of funny. You see what I'm saying? It didn't look bad. Like
squibs and no blood, but Bams was dying. I was kind of surprised by that. I was like, whoa, we catching bodies in Peter Pan?
Steal third, you get boxed. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. Don't steal the bases. But I feel like the score helped keep the fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though what we're seeing, like you said, somebody getting shot or Rufio getting stabbed or whatever the case may be, it still felt like a fun family film. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't have to worry about young ones like, oh, yeah, let me go ahead and in my next baseball game, I'll make sure I bring the strap. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. You know, it don't hit like watching Menace or something. So, I think that was really cool. And, even though this film has, there is a fine line in the sand from the critics. They try to bash it for whatever reasons, this, that, whatever. But I mean, it came in on a $70 million budget and it pulled back $300 million. So it tripled up, and it has a large cult following for a reason, not just because of the nostalgia, but this is a very heavily used story. We have seen a lot of variations of this story, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like this one found a way to separate itself because of the approach that it took. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that plain, that simple. So regardless to like who wants to, fine tooth comb this one, yeah, there are things that could have been done better, but like ultimately to me in real time right now, I feel this film still holds up and it is an extremely fun watch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoyed the mess out of it this week.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably have a little slight split with you. I'm watching this now, and I feel like if I watched it as a younger kid, like I remember when it came out and all that, but let me see, 91. I'm probably about 12 years old, and it didn't pull me in right away. Like if you told me another director directed this film, I would believe you. This doesn't feel like Spielberg. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe some of the technical stuff and the John Williams score is there, yeah, but it doesn't feel like some of his best work. I feel like he's one of these guys that's clean and concise. There's no waste. It takes 40 minutes for us to get to Neverland, and that was kind of excruciating, like sitting through that. Maybe not 40, but somewhere, 30 some minutes or something. But it took a while to get that going, and I was like, you probably could have truncated some of this exposition, you know what I'm saying? And even as the film, once we get to Neverland, there are some great highs, but there are also some lulls in the action. And I think that's just, like, they say he was going through the divorce at this time. His first divorce with his first wife, half his shit's gone. And even he kind of considers this a low point in his career, even though it does, people, love it and all. And then following this, I think he had Schindler's List and Jurassic Park, where, the films he put out after this. And he said it maybe he felt in his own mind he didn't put his best effort forward. He was kind of distracted, and it causes him to kind of lock in for a second. But this thing does have some good highs of it. Like, for me, it doesn't, like, I don't know if I'm going to be one that I'm going to keep running back to, but I could see the appeal of it. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, if I had watched this, we're probably like 4 years apart. Yeah. So seeing this at 9 versus me like 13, 11, like 12 or 13, I'm more like, I'm looking for like, this probably, just looking at it from afar, I was like, this is a little too kiddie for me,
See, and the thing is, for me, this was just, it was a palate cleanser because by 9, I was knee deep in my horror films. I had a very extensive catalog when it came to my horror movie experiences. So
at 9, see, at 9, I definitely was going to be watching some of this. I'm going to go to Monster Squad. We're going to watch anything with any type of little kids in it. Even Goonies. I'm even watching like Troop Beverly Hills and having a blast. Like anything with a kid. But I think I was past that age where that alone was enough to suck me in. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's why I put off watching this film for so long.
I feel like I know that it was a little long in the tooth, but I feel like the opening sequence where they establish Peter in this real world and how like he's perceivably not winning. He is successful, but he's still losing. And the way that they push that, it strums a certain chord.
I feel like you got to definitely do that establishing stuff for sure.
They just
they overdid it, and I think honestly, when I know now what was going on with him in his personal life, I feel like some of that is reflected in the character, the older version of Peter as well. And maybe he got a little bit lost in the sauce and overindulgent with that. And, you know, maybe an editor could have came along and made it more like of a smoother, you know what I'm saying,
also,
period.
It kind of looked like in his character arc, the only thing that was missing is him sucking down whiskey every night and abusing his children, his wife. Get away from me.
But Hook, maybe he put that in there too and they cut it out because Hook kind of throws it back at him. It's like, I'll send you back to being a, whiskey drinker. And
Sad ass
I was like, maybe that was some more stuff. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a product of its time and the testament. Like I said, it's highly beloved. I could be the outlier, and like I said, I'm watching this thing way late with a jaded, critical eye.
Like I said, I feel like it is highly beloved, not just because of the narrative, but because of the cast. I mean, Robin Williams alone is the draw. You know what I'm saying? People will watch just because they're a fan of him, justifiably so. But then there's all this other stuff going on, you know what I'm saying, where I feel like, if they were to try to retread this, I don't feel it would hit the same. I feel like this is kind of one that it just needs to be as is.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be probably one of the definitive versions of Pan alongside. And honestly, it's a companion. I mean, it's written in a way to be a direct sequel to the Disney version, even though it's not officially. It's not
advertised.
And that's not a Disney. I mean, Disney made that animated film, but it's based on a book, like you said, an adaptation of a novel. And, and this version is kind of just jumping off as a sequel to that novel, which also happens to be loosely kind of a sequel to the animated thing.
And I also feel like this one kind of gave us a different perspective. We get more of Hook, where I feel like this one also kind of created the lane for future films like Maleficent or Cruella or whatever, where we get the villain's perspective. And without this film being made the way it was, I don't know if the fans would be ready for that.
And also films where you're playing around, like something like Wicked doesn't come without a film like this, because you're taking a premise of something that's already an established fantasy story and expanding on it, So this,
and you're giving the villains a voice. Like most all of those Disney cartoons, it's basic good versus evil. And if you're evil, you're bad, and it doesn't matter what you have to say or how you got to be bad. It's just that you're bad and good triumphs. Whereas this, we get the other side of Hook. We see him be humanized. He takes the wig off. He's old. He's talking about eating a bullet. There's a point where he's like, I'm gonna kill myself. Smee, stop me. Don't stop me. Don't. I mean, you wouldn't see that stuff if it wasn't for this movie. So, I mean, it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
It definitely serves a purpose, especially with the Disney world.
Yeah. Well, then we can wrap this up, man. Make sure you go rewatch Hook if you haven't seen it in a while. And leave a comment. What you think about, what we're doing on here, our thoughts on this. If you got your own thoughts about the film, you can share those below. And we're going to be back soon. But, check us out on Classes of Cinematics on Instagram. We're also on TikTok. Classes of Cinematics. Just search for it. I'm on TikTok. Just search for Monkey Blood. You said at Monkey Blood on Twitter and Instagram as well.
And I am not on TikTok or Instagram, but I will be on the next show. This is Bobby Blockbuster.
All right, y'all. Peace.